Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. On this episode, it's my pleasure to talk with comics creator, author Jennie Wood, who is currently also sporting a very nice Heather's promotional poster. That's right, Heather's right back there. Yes, the teen angst, the dark drama of the teen years. Love it, love it. Thank you for jumping in. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Jason, so much for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. It is my pleasure. And as I was saying before I hit record, I discovered your work through Paper Planes and the work that Mad Cave does with Maverick. And so then I sort of started doing a back channel and finding some of the work that you've published over the past few years, Flutter being one of those, available through Dark Horse, A Boy Like Me. So very curious to talk about these works and your creating journey.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, my pleasure. So, what was it that initially kind of drew you as an author to the written word and to storytelling and visuals?
So, what drew me to the written word, really as a preteen, around the ages of the characters in Paper Planes, was it that and playing guitar were the two things that when I would do them, I wouldn't notice the clock. I would just lose track of time. So, writing was that for me. It was just a world I could go into and I could shut out my parents arguing downstairs and issues at school or anything, and I would just forget about time passing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that felt like then it's something I should pursue and should do. And it's, been that refuge for me and also cathartic, and ways to entertain myself. All the reasons we write or create or go to a book, as a reader, as an audience, to take us away from our reality, but also shine light on our reality too. So that's what drew me to it.
Yeah, yeah. What's it like to kind of work in the world of comics versus prose for you?
So comics, it's all about the collaboration, which I love.
Hmm.
I I have a before I got into comics, I was involved in theater and then I was in a band, a rock band actually named after the movie Heathers called Heather's Damage.
Nice,
And
nice.
yeah, and those are collaborative things, right? Theater
Hmm.
and being in a band, you collaborate. And um I found though when I was in a band, I was spending a lot of time booking our shows and marketing us and just got away from the songwriting. And I really missed writing.
Hmm.
So I went back to writing and I started writing prose, and then I missed the collaboration. Because
Hmm.
as much as I loved, it was a three-person band and I fronted it. I played guitar and was the lead singer. And as much as I loved being on stage, what I really missed more than anything was just writing. Like I just wanted to be home writing. So I started doing that, but then I missed the collaboration, and found my way into comics. I got the idea for Flutter. Flutter's about a girl who shapeshifts into a boy to pursue her dream girl because her dream girl is straight. And I was writing it in prose, and it just felt too static, too flat for me. And this was around the time I was reading Fun Home and Why the Last Man and Blankets, three very different graphic novels, but I fell in love with all three of them. And I'm like, Flutter should be a graphic novel. And I grew up reading comics. Um, and so it was all familiar to me and it felt like going home. And it provided that thing I was missing by writing prose, which is collaborating, right?
Hmm.
The things I loved about theater and music, I could collaborate with an artist. And that is the number one difference with working on comics because I don't draw versus prose. I get to collaborate with an artist, with a colorist, with an editor, with a group of people. With prose, especially if you're writing a novel, you're writing hours a day by yourself and you don't share that with an editor until you have a whole manuscript.
Hmm.
And you can have the best editor in the world and the best agent, the most supportive agent in the world, but you're still doing it by yourself. And
Yeah.
with a comic, graphic novel, you've got a whole team of people that you're collaborating with.
Yeah, yeah. Love that idea, the creative ensemble. Are there particular collaborators that have been some of your best experiences and partnerships so far that you'd like to shout out?
Sure. I can honestly say that every collaboration that I've worked with, even all the anthologies, it's never been a negative experience. Even when we might work differently or not agree on something, we could sit down and hash it out. I find artists to be just so giving and understanding and can always find a middle ground. But I have to mention Jeff McCumsey. He was my
Hmm.
first collaborator, and we worked on Flutter together. Flutter is now collected for Dark Horse, but it was three graphic novels, and all of those, around 200 pages. So I worked with Jeff on that for almost a decade, and he it was just such an inspiring collaboration. I would be so inspired by his art, by his character designs. A big example is when he designed Penelope. Penelope was only going to be a very supporting character in the story, but his character design for her, I just love so much. And what he did with her in the first chapter, how he drew her, I was like, she has to be a bigger part of the story, and she ends up being one of the main characters. And so
Hmm.
that is how the collaboration, the art inspires the writing for me. I also work with Richard Clark a lot on the John Carpenter Tales for a Halloween Night anthologies. We're currently working together for the fourth time. And
Hmm.
he's amazing. And that whole anthology series is a chance for me to work in horror, which is a genre that I've always liked in terms of watching and reading, but didn't think I had it in me to write because I scare very easily, right? Like if I'm watching a horror movie by myself, it has to be in the middle of the day or it can't be late at night. My imagination runs away with me and I don't sleep. So
Hmm.
just to be able to write horror, and collaborate with someone and bounce ideas off with someone, it's just opened up a whole new genre and world for me. And then most recently, Dozer Draws,
Hmm.
they're the artist on Paper Planes. And very much like with Jeff McCumsey, a lot of Dozer's art early on when I was finishing the script and they were working on the early chapters, their art just inspired the script and dialogue and the way characters were interact by how they envisioned them, how they drew them, and that was just everyone who worked on that book. Micah Myers lettered it. Erica
Hmm.
Schultz was our editor on it, just working hand in hand with us. It was just such a dream team.
Wonderful, wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Now, you also write in a space that's very near and dear to my heart, which is the young adult, youth-oriented sort of work, which it's a wonderful way of storytelling and a wonderful way of storytelling in comics. So, I'm wondering about what writing for that particular audience or in that particular way, or with those particular characters, however you want to kind of frame it, I guess, what that challenges you to do on the one hand, but also allows you to do creatively.
The latter part of that question is easier to answer for me, I think.
Mhm.
It allows me to revisit such a vulnerable, fragile time in my life and in our lives, a time when we're exploring, a time where anything is possible, but a time where we're confused and
Mhm.
not sure who we are and who we want to be. And so that's just a lot of fertile ground, but it's a lot of ground I want to explore. And with Paper Planes, so I was writing Paper Planes while I was coming out as non-binary. And it took me a long time to get there.
Mhm.
Uh, I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. The terms non-binary, cisgender weren't available to me. I just didn't know them.
Mhm.
Um, and I got a chance with Paper Planes and with Dylan to imagine what it would be like to know you're non-binary, to have those terms available to you, to be who you are at that age. And it was
Hmm.
just wonderful to envision what it'd be like to be that age and to know that aspect of yourself. And so writing young adult allows me to go back to that time in my life and revisit my own demons, but do it in new ways, or do it, what if I had certain terms available? What if I had certain things available to me that I didn't then? So it's cathartic, it's a healing way, and to be able to write a non-binary main character while coming out as non-binary during a pandemic, so none of us felt seen, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
it's such a gift. So um, the challenges, I would when I first started writing young adult, and I did it because I was drawn to it. It's what I wanted to write. I thought a challenge would be I'm not 13, I'm not 16, and in present time. So how do I connect with the problems, the emotions? But I was 13 and 16 at one time, so I can pull that uh, out of me. It's in a lot of ways it's easier to do that than write someone who's like 65, 75, because I don't know what it's like to be in a 65-year-old's body yet, but I know what it's like to be in a 13-year-old's body and an
Hmm.
18-year-old's body. So since memory, I can just recall that. The another challenge was writing something present day, writing someone who's 14, 15 years old. Is the language right? Are the problems are right? And slang does change, but
Hmm.
if you talk to a 13 or 15-year-old, they'll tell you. And that's the thing. Be open, talk to people
Hmm.
um, of all ages, and listen, actively listen. And actually, aside from, and I don't want to be dismissive of this, because social media and the bullying that goes on is something that I will never experience, going through grade school and high school. Um, but aside from some modern technologies and modern issues, and those issues are major, um, a lot of the problems that kids have today are the same. Flutter
Hmm.
is about a girl who wants another girl to like her, so she's willing to change or to pretend to be someone she's not
Hmm. Hmm.
to get someone to like her. And I've had so many people come up to me and be like, well, when I was that age, I tried out for a musical theater or soccer because I wanted the boy or girl's attention, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, you know, our wants and desires and problems are the basic ones are a lot of the basic ones are the same. So that hasn't changed.
Yeah, yeah. I love what you said there about the human condition, the things we go through, and also um, exploring yourself and exploring your own experiences and identity through authoring. It's really powerful.
Yeah, and I hope more people can use writing as a way to heal, to entertain themselves, to escape,
Hmm.
to explore real life, all of those things. Writing is free, but a lot of people feel like they need permission to do it or permission to put it out there, and you don't.
Hmm.
So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I have one more official question on our talk, and then we can hit anything that we might have missed, anything that you want to shout out from the journey, and that is current creative directions that you can talk about, as well as spaces where people can go, whether it's websites, social media, or whatever the best spaces are to connect.
Sure. I am just wrapping up another young adult graphic novel,
Mhm.
and happy to be finished with getting that to that finish line is always hard. And then I'm going to take a little break before I start another graphic novel. And what's interesting about the one that I'll be starting in the spring is it actually is from a prose manuscript that I wrote.
Oh, nice.
And while I was writing it, I was working on paper planes with Dozer, and I was like, this prose manuscript just feels like it should be a graphic novel. So, and all that work that I did on that manuscript, that prose young adult novel doesn't go to waste. um, because it'll be, I'm just going to revise it into a script for the graphic novel. And then in between these two young adult graphic novels, I'm actually just taking a mini break to write a play with a good friend of mine, a
Oh,
collaborator, Jeff
nice.
McClellan. I want to give
Mm,
him a shout out. He edited Flutter, and he is a great writer. He writes for The Tick. And we just want to have fun and write a play together, something light, something but heartfelt, something that we need in our lives, just something to feel good about. And again, that collaboration. I'm always looking for a chance to collaborate. And you can find me, honestly, I spend most of my social media time on Instagram, posting
mhm.
photos of my dog and looking at other people's dogs. So
It's a
it's
great use for Instagram. It really is.
yes, yes, it makes me happy. It's Jennie Wood and Did
Mhm, mhm,
at Jennie Wood and Did, and you can find it through my website, jennywood.com. And I'm also I'm still on Facebook, um, less and less the site or the social media formerly known as Twitter.
mhm, mhm.
I am on Threads, so plenty of ways to find me. And Tumblr. I love Tumblr too. So
Nice, nice. Well, I'm glad that you would and did. I'm glad that the work is out there and that folks can go find it. Did we miss anything that you want to make sure to share before we close out?
I think that's it. I just encourage people to write when they feel like it, and follow their bliss, and not let anyone rain on their parade. I say that as it's pouring down rain here in Boston. So
It's
that's
a little
where.
snowy here, but yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, I love that. Follow your bliss. I love it.
Yeah. And thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for jumping on and glad to talk anytime.